Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, was an American serial killer and sex offender who killed and dismembered 17 males between 1978 and 1991. He is classified as a hedonistic thrill serial killer who looks for thrills and derives pleasure from killing, seeing people as expendable means to this goal. They kill for the joy. Talking about his childhood, Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960 in the city Milwaukee of Wisconsin as the first of two sons to Lionel Herbert Dahmer, who was a Marquette University chemistry student and later a research chemist, and Joyce Annette Dahmer, a teletype machine instructor. As Jeffrey's father was very busy studying and his mother was suffering from depression, he was deprived of attention as an infant. When Jeffrey was growing up, he diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, schizotypal personality disorder, and also a psychotic disorder. Starting from his late teens, he was heavily alcoholic and once he enlisted in the U.S. Army, but was discharged as unsuitable for military service due to alcohol abuse, and later he worked as a phlebotomist at the Milwaukee Blood Plasma Center. Starting from 1978, over the course of more than 13 years, Dahmer sought out his victims, mostly black men, at gay bars, malls, and bus stops, lured them home with promises of money or sex, and gave them alcohol laced with drugs before strangling them to death. He would then engage in sex acts with the corpses before dismembering them and disposing of them, often keeping body parts as souvenirs. He frequently took photos of his victims at various stages of the murder process, so he could recollect each act afterward and relive the experience. Dahmer's first murder occurred just after graduating from Revere High School, in June 1978, when he picked up an 18-year-old hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks and took him to his parents' house. Dahmer proceeded to get the young man drunk, and when Hicks tried to go, Dahmer didn't want him to leave. He strangled Hicks to death so that he can keep the corpse with him. Dahmer claims that his compulsions toward necrophilia and murder began around the age of 14, but it appears that the breakdown of his parents' marriage and their acrimonious divorce a few years later might have been the catalyst for turning these thoughts into actions. In the case of Stephen Hicks, Dahmer killed him by striking him in the head with a barbell and strangling him. Dahmer dismembered Hicks' corpse, packed the body parts in plastic bags, and buried them behind his parents' home. He later exhumed the remains, crushed the bones with a sledgehammer, and scattered them across a wooded ravine. In September 1987, Dahmer took his second victim, Stephen Twomey. They checked into a hotel room and drank, and Dahmer eventually awoke to find Twomey dead, with no memory of the previous night's activities. He later told police he intended to drug Twomey, but not kill him, and he could not believe this had happened. Dahmer bought a large suitcase to transport Twomey's body to his grandmother's basement, where he dismembered and disposed the remains. He kept Twomey's head, which was wrapped in a blanket, for weeks after the murder. Dahmer later said that after Twomey's killing, his obsession with killing went into full swing, and he didn't even try to stop it after that. It became his lifestyle, and he killed 15 more young men and teenagers before getting caught to the police in 1991 while trying to kill another man named Tracy Edwards. Dahmer used drugs to make his victims unconscious, so that he could keep them under his control for a longer time, as he wished in order to fulfill his sexual desires. His usually used drugs were triazolam and temazepam, which were sedatives used to treat insomnia. Dahmer took Polaroid photos of his victims before and after murdering them by strangling, and, as he did to the corpses of first two victims, he dismembered the dead bodies of all men he had killed, and he preserved most parts of their skeleton, including the skulls, as souvenirs. He took Polaroid photos of the several dismembering stages of bodies too, and kept some internal organs of his victims like heart, intestine, liver, bicep muscles, and leg muscles in his refrigerator in order to preserve them for a longer time. During the trial, when he was questioned about photographing and preserving body parts of his victims, he answered, "It was my way of remembering their appearance, their physical beauty. If I couldn't keep them there with me whole, I at least could keep their skeletons." By 1991, fellow residents of his apartment had complained the apartment manager about the foul smells and strange chainsaw sounds coming out of his apartment, but he easily excused by saying that his freezer was broken and causing the contents to spoil, where he said that some of his tropical fish had died. He would take care of the matter. Periodically, he turned cannibalic and started eating the preserved body parts like heart and arm muscles in the freezer, so that he felt that his victims were a part of himself and he could get more connected to them. In July 1991, Dahmer's journey of killing came to an end when his last victim Tracy Edwards managed to punch Dahmer and knock him on the ground so that he could run through the unlocked front door. He was able to flag down 2 Milwaukee police officers, whom he led back to Dahmer's apartment. When they arrived, the cops noticed an open drawer that contained Polaroid pictures of human bodies in various stages of dismemberment. Once Dahmer saw that the cops discovered the Polaroid pictures, he tried to flee, but the police officers soon arrested him. Following his arrest, on July 22, 1991, Dahmer gave a detailed confession to police, confessing to a total of 17 slayings, and his trial began on January 30, 1992. He was convicted of 16 of the murders and sentenced to 16 life terms in prison. That means a total of 941 years in prison. During his trial, Dahmer was given the opportunity to speak up. He stated that both society and the families of his victims will never be able to forgive him, but hoped that God did. He stated, "I promise I will pray each day to ask for their forgiveness when the hurt goes away, if ever. I have seen their tears, and if I could give my life right now to bring their loved ones back, I would do it. I am so very sorry." He also addressed the judge saying, "I know my time in prison will be terrible, but I deserve whatever I get because of what I have done. Thank you, Your Honor, and I am prepared for your sentence, which I know will be the maximum. I ask for no consideration." After being sentenced to 16 life terms in prison, Dahmer was sent to Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, and on November 28, 1994, he was beaten to death by Christopher Scarver, a fellow inmate, when Jeffrey was about 34 years old. That's the end of the Jeffrey story. Thanks for watching and subscribe Fact Feeds for more videos like this.